Hello, students. Welcome to today's session. In the last video, we discussed first two principles of object-oriented programming. Okay, abstraction and encapsulation. Today, we'll be seeing the remaining two principles, that is inheritance and polymorphism. So, what does the term inheritance mean? If we see the dictionary meaning of inheritance, it says acquisition, acquisition of a possession, condition, or trait from past generations. That means you are acquiring something from the previous existing thing. Okay, when we acquire something from previous existing thing, it is known as inheritance. That's the general meaning of, or dictionary meaning of, inheritance. Okay, now what does inheritance mean in terms of OOP? Well, in OOP, you know that it's our program is a collection of classes. Okay, our program is a collection of classes. So when you create a new class and you want the new class to have all the features of an existing class, that can be done through inheritance. Okay, so deriving a new class which acquires the properties of an existing class and adds new features as well, this is known as inheritance in OOP. Okay, now let's see a few terms used for existing class and the new class. Okay, existing class can be called as base class, super class, or parent class. Similarly, the new class can be called as derived class, subclass, and child class. Okay, so any of these terms are suitable. So let's see the next point. Okay, if you do not use inheritance, what will happen is you will have to rewrite your code. Okay, what does that mean? Let's understand this with this image here. Okay, you can see that we have got 5 classes. Okay, one is vehicle, then we have car, pickup, dump truck, and convertible. These are different classes, and these are the attributes. Okay, these are the attributes. This is the behavior. Here also we have got the behavior, and in this class we have got behaviors only. Okay, now try to understand this. This class here, vehicle is the base class. Okay, at one point in time you created a class called vehicle. Okay, and you gave certain features to the vehicle class. Okay, like go back, go forward, start, stop. Okay, these are some of the functions that can be performed by a vehicle class. Okay, and this was created at a certain point in time. Okay, now in the future, let's say you want to design a new car. Okay, you want to design a new car. So here you have created the class called car. Okay, now the car class, okay, or the car object will have all these features present in the vehicle class, isn't it? A car should also be able to go back, it should be able to go forward, it should be able to start, it should be able to stop. So the car class must possess all these features. Okay, so now if you did not use inheritance, you would have to rewrite the functions here inside the car class. Okay, if you did not use inheritance, you have to rewrite the code for all these features here. So that would be a waste of time and energy. So inheritance allows you to reuse your code very efficiently. That's the power of inheritance. Okay, so once you created your car object, again in the future you decided, no, I want a pickup truck as well. Okay, so what you did, you simply inherited pickup class from vehicle class. Okay, just like the car class inherited from the vehicle class, you can design one more class which will inherit again from the vehicle class, because the vehicle class will also have all the pickup class will also have all these features here. Similarly, in the future you decided that you want to create a new object, a new class, a new type of vehicle. Okay, so you decided that this dump truck, okay, will extend from the vehicle class. Okay, that means it will inherit from the vehicle class, and it will have all these features here. It will have all these features, plus it will have its own features, own unique features. Okay, like load capacity, num wheels, weight, lower load, raise load. Okay, and not only that, look here. Okay, this is the third level. You decided that you want to create a different type of car. Okay, a different type of car. Now this different type of car will have all these features belonging to the car class, plus it will have its own features, right, its own unique features, like lower roof, raised roof. You know, the car, when the car's roof can be removed and raised again. Okay, that is a convertible car. So this convertible car will have all the features of the car class, plus it will have its own features, it will have its own unique features. This is the power of inheritance. Okay, it allows you to reuse your existing class very efficiently. Now notice here that in this base class, it has got all the features that will be common to all the derived classes. Okay, so all kinds of vehicles will have at least these features present in the vehicle class, plus they will have their own features. That means what? In the base class you should have all the common features. Okay, and in the derived class you'll define the unique features, because in the derived class all the functionality of the existing class, of the base class, will be inherited by default. Okay, so all these classes here will have all the features present here. Okay, without writing any single piece of code. So that is what is meant by this point here. If inheritance is not used, all new classes would need to define all the attributes again and again, this will be time consuming. Okay, so using inheritance, an object needs to define only those qualities that makes it unique. Rest of the general attributes are inherited from the parent class. So I hope that this point is clear. Okay, so what is the biggest advantage of inheritance? Obviously it is reusability. Now inheritance is we don't need to study in detail because it's not in our syllabus. Okay, so only these points are sufficient. And one last point. Okay, how can you inherit, from an existing class? By using the extends keyword. Okay, by using the extends keyword you can create a new class which will inherit from an existing class. So the keyword is extends. This much you need to remember. Okay, extends keyword. Similarly, here you can see I've given one more example. I've got the bird class here. So this is the bird class. Okay, this is the bird class. So it will have some common features which all kinds of birds will possess, like name, size, color. Okay, so name, size and color will be possessed by any kind of bird, whether it be flying bird or non-flying bird. And within flying bird it can be robin, it can be swallow. Within non-flying bird it can be penguin, it can be kiwi. Okay, all these different birds, different categories of birds will have at least the name, size and color. That's why the bird class, which is the base class, will have all the common attributes and behaviors. Okay, and as you go to unique classes, okay, to derived classes, you will have the unique attributes and behavior. Okay, in this flying bird you will have those features which are unique to flying birds only. Okay, in this class, in non flying bird class, okay, you will have all the features that are unique to the non flying bird class. Okay, similarly as you go down the hierarchy, okay, here you can see robin is a specific kind of bird under flying bird. Okay, so this robin will have all the features of flying birds, all the features of birds, plus it will have its own unique features. Okay, so this second example. Let's look at the third example. Okay, so here I've got a character class. In this character class, the inside the character class, look at this inner circle here. The inner circle represents all the attributes. Okay, all the attributes that a character class can have. Okay, so like the character will have some font. Okay, will have some font size, will have some name. Okay, if you have used Microsoft Word you must be knowing these terms, isn't it? Font size, name. So when you type anything in Microsoft Word, you can change its font, you can change its font size, you can change its name. Okay, so these are the attributes of a character. Okay, these are the attributes. Now what are the behaviors? The behaviors are resize, italicize and draw. You can draw a character, you can resize a character, you can italicize a character. So these are the certain functions. Now this is our base class. Okay, the character class is our base class. So these are those features which will be possessed by any kind of derived classes. Okay, what do I mean by that? See, a character can be a letter class. Okay, a character can be a letter or it can be a digit, isn't it? Let's consider the case of the letter class. Okay, so the letter class will have all these features plus its unique features. What are its unique features? It will have a case, okay, whether it's uppercase or lowercase. Similarly, it will have functions like you can convert it to uppercase or you can convert it to lowercase. Okay, so this is the specific or unique ability of the letter class. It's the unique ability of the or the unique feature of the letter class. Similarly, when we are dealing with digit type of character, okay, when we deal with digit kind of character, a digit cannot be converted to uppercase, it cannot be converted to uppercase, it cannot be converted to lowercase. Okay, it has no case. Okay, so that means digit class is different from the letter class. Digit class is different from the letter class. How? Because a digit represents a number, okay, and a number does not have a case, it does not have a case, it cannot be converted to uppercase or to lowercase it, but we can find the integer value only. Okay, so that is why we have got this feature here, int value. Okay, what is the integer value of the character? Okay, so this is our character class. Okay, this is our base class, and these two classes here are our derived classes having their own unique features apart from the inherited features. So the next topic or the next principle in object oriented programming is polymorphism. Okay, so polymorphism consists of two words, poly and morph. That means the same object can take different forms. The same object can take different forms. Okay, so remember this phrase, same object can take different forms. This is known as polymorphism. Okay, so just like a single person can display different kinds of behaviors, isn't it? A single person can display different kinds of behaviors depending upon the requirement. Okay, for example, I as a person in the classroom can play the role of a teacher. Okay, and I, the same person outside of a classroom, when I'm dealing with my friends, I will be displaying different kind of behaviors. This is known as polymorphism. Okay, so this feature of polymorphism is displayed by all objects, and it's a very important feature of object oriented programming. Okay, and it is related to our previous topic, inheritance. Okay, in fact, inheritance allows you to use polymorphism. So let's see the example here. Okay, so I've got this base class. Okay, shape is the base class. Remember base class and derived class. Okay, and these are the derived classes. These are the derived classes. That means what? Color is inheriting from shape, box is also inheriting from shape, and triangle is also inheriting from shape. Shape will have all the features that are common to all kinds of shapes. Okay, now so I'll come back to this slide later. Okay, first let us see some points regarding polymorphism. Okay, so already seen this. Polymorphism is the property of something having many forms. Okay, and I gave you the example of a person behaving differently. Then here, see, methods can be polymorphic. There can be more than one form of a method on the same class. When a method is called, the actual method invoked depends on the type of arguments supplied. Okay, now if you do not understand this point here, the third point, don't worry, we will be discussing this topic in quite detail when we study methods chapter, okay, or functions chapter. Okay, but for now I'll briefly explain. Okay, see, when two functions have the same name, see, this is a function. Okay, both of these lines here, they are representing the function, a certain function. Okay, so both the functions have got the same name. See, notice create contact, they have got the same name. That means what? This is known as method overloading. Okay, and the term here, arguments. Okay, so this inside the brackets here, you can see I've written string name long phone 1, long phone 2, and here I've written string name and long phone 1. So these are known as arguments. Okay, after the function name, whatever comes inside the brackets, they are known as arguments or parameters. Okay, so although the function name is same, the number of parameters is different. Okay, now let me give you an example. While using your phone, okay, all of you must have saved a new contact in your phone. Okay, so when you save a new contact in your phone, you are given the option to input two phone numbers for the same name, isn't it? You are given the feature of inputting two phone numbers for the same name, but you can also just enter one phone number for a single name, and that will be fine as well. Okay, so when you enter a single number, what happens is this function will be called. Okay, because you are entering only a single number. Okay, so the compiler will decide, okay, that this function should be called because you have entered a single number, and this is the matching function. This is the matching function for the input type you have provided. Okay, but if you enter two phone numbers, this function will be called. Okay, because here is a match happening. Okay, this function has got two phone numbers for a single name. Okay, so when you enter two phone numbers, this function will be called, and when you enter a single number, this function will be called. Okay, so this is method overloading. This is one way of implementing polymorphism in Java, and this is actually what you are required to know. Okay, but there is another way, polymorphism can happen. Okay, and that is the process of method overriding. Okay, so let's go back to our this slide here. Earlier when I explained inheritance, I told that the derived classes will have their unique features defined inside them, and all the general behaviors which are present inside the base class is already by default inherited in the derived classes. But if you notice here, although I've got the draw feature, draw function in the base class, I am rewriting or redefining draw function in each of the derived classes. Okay, so this is known as method overriding. Okay, now we'll understand this using practical Java code. Okay, so in the Java code, what I'll do is I will create four classes: shape class, circle class, box class, and triangle class. Okay, circle class will be extending from shape, box will also be extending from shape, and triangle will also be extending from shape class. Okay, so let's say we have got four different objects: S1, S2, S3, and S4, all belonging to the category of shape. Okay, so all of them, S1, S2, S3, and S4, are objects of the shape class. But when I call the draw function using S1, this function will be called. Okay, when I call the draw function using S2, this function will be called. When I call the draw function using S3, this function will be called. And similarly, when I call the draw function using S4, okay, this particular function will be called. So you can see that although all the objects here, S1, S2, and S3, and S4, although they belong to the shape category, they are sometimes behaving as circle, sometimes as box, and sometimes as triangle. So isn't this what polymorphism is? That a single object can behave differently. Okay, so let's jump into the code and try to understand it in detail. So in the code example, okay, I'll be using area. Okay, instead of draw, I'll be using area. Okay, so everywhere where you've got draw, I'll use area. Okay, not draw. Instead of draw, I'll have area function. Okay, so notice the first class. Notice line number 1. I've written class shape. Okay, and inside the class shape, I've got double area function. Okay, area function, because all shapes will have area, isn't it? All shapes will have area. So I have defined the shape, sorry, the area function inside the base class. Okay, so can you tell me what will be the area of shape? So you can't, isn't it? Because you don't know what kind of shape I'm talking about. Okay, if I ask you to give me the area of shape, you will not be able to do so, because you will tell me which kind of shape is it. Then only I'll be able to tell the area. Okay, that is why in the shape class, inside the area function, I have returned 0. That means this area function will always give the value of 0. Okay, so this is from line number 1 till line number 5. This is the shape class. Okay, now let's come to the remaining 4 classes. The first class, sorry, the second class, rectangle, is extending from shape. Recall, what is the use of extends keyword? Extends keyword is used for inheriting from an existing class. So rectangle is inheriting from shape. Similarly, triangle is inheriting from shape, and circle is inheriting from shape. Okay, so these three classes are the derived classes deriving from shape class. So it was not necessary for me to define the area function again. Okay, if I did not imagine, I did not write this function in any of the derived classes, there was no area. Okay, there was no area function. What would have happened? You can guess it. By default, this area function would have come here. Okay, and every time I would have got the value of area as 0. Okay, let's come to the next class, the final class. Okay, this is our main class, the class here. Okay, this is our main class. Inside this class, inside the function, I have created 4 objects. Okay, s1, s2, s3 and s4. Okay, see, these are the 4 objects: s1, s2, s3 and s4. And notice that the type of each of them is shape. S1 is also shape type, S2 is also shape type, S3 is also shape type, and S4 is also of shape type. Okay, but notice the difference here. The first one is new shape, second is new rectangle, third is new triangle, and fourth is new circle. Okay, so since rectangle, triangle and circle are the derived classes, are the child classes of the shape class, you can have shape here and rectangle here, shape here and triangle here, shape here and circle here. If there was no inheritance, it would always have been same. If we have got shape here, then shape must be here. But in our case, in this case, since we are using inheritance, we can assign the child class object to the parent class. Okay, so let's come to the next point. What do you think will happen if I call area function using the s1 object? If I call the area function using s1 object, what will happen? What will be the output? This function will be called. This function will be called and the output of this will be 0. Okay, so the first line of output will be the area of shape is 0. Okay, next, the second line, the area of shape is s2 dot area. Okay, s2 dot area. What do you think the output of this line will be? Will it be 0 again? No, it will not be 0. Okay, since I've got new rectangle object assigned to s2. Okay, s2 will start behaving like rectangle. S2 will start behaving like rectangle, and hence instead of calling this area function, this time this area function will be invoked and the area will be something different. Okay, I've not written the complete code because I haven't assigned any values to width and height. Similarly, I don't have any values for s, a, b, c. Okay, but to keep things simple, I have not used any values for now. But the important thing here is to understand the concept. Okay, how different functions are being called from different classes by invoking the same area function. Okay, Similarly, now in the third line, when I say the area of shape is S3 dot area, okay, this time we are looking at this area here. So S3 dot area. So this time what will happen is this area function will be called, okay, not this. Notice S3's type is shape, S3's type is shape, but this area function will not be called, rather this area function will be called, okay. So you can see that these different objects S1, S2, S3 and S4, although they are of the type shape, but the same kind of object is behaving sometimes as rectangle, sometimes as triangle, and sometimes as circle, okay. This is known as polymorphism, isn't it? Recall the definition of polymorphism: when the same object can behave differently. This is polymorphism. When the same person, when I as a person am in the classroom, I will do the role of a teacher, okay, but when I am with my friend, I will be playing the role of a friend. Similarly here, S1, S2, S3 and S4, they are the same shape, isn't it? The same shape, just as in the case of just as in the case of mine example, okay, I was the same person behaving differently, okay, as a teacher, as a friend. Similarly, S1, S2, S3, S4, they are all shapes, means all persons, but they are behaving differently. This is polymorphism, okay, objects behaving differently. Now if you do not understand method overriding, okay, I explained that there are two ways in which polymorphism is achieved. One is method overloading. So method overloading is in your syllabus. So overloading needs to be understood thoroughly, but method overriding is not in your syllabus. Okay. So the second way of achieving polymorphism, that is overriding, it's not required for you to understand in this detail, but still I have explained because it will be easier for you to understand, and plus in your book the example given is related with the second type of example, okay, method overriding. So that's why I've explained. So when you read your book, okay, you'll be in a better position to understand what's written there. That is why I've explained in detail, okay. So students will stop here. Thank you.